Hi everyone, it's me, Artur, once again, and in this video we will further refine our custom Flutter dropdown and we will handle all of the edge cases that might occur. So let's quickly remind what we've already achieved. So we've got the app up and running. So as you can see, we've got a bunch of dropdowns here. And the dropdown is already showing in the right place, kinda. I mean, it's being shown below the dropdown button and the X offset is right, but as you can see right now in the example, it might overflow in some cases. And for example, here, when the dropdown is on the right half of the screen, it might be wise to actually shift it a bit to the left so the whole content is visible. And here, when it's in the lower half of the screen and it doesn't really fit here, it looks bad, it might be a wiser idea to show it above the button instead of below. So we will try to handle all of those edge cases in this part. So the first one that you can already see is the width being too big, and that's easy fix. So what we will do is the usage of Constraintbox. So we want to wrap our build content method with Constraintbox, and we need to add some box constraints to it and simply set max width to the max width that we've calculated before. And as you can see, now it looks all good, it fits the screen, and the elements that would overflow are getting an ellipsis. So yeah, that's great. Let's visualize another edge case that's an overflow. So let's say we've got a bunch of items, a lot of those, and we open our dropdown. Oh, as you can see, they are not really fitting the screen. We already have a scroll view here, but it still overflows. So we definitely need to limit its height, and then the scroll will help us and the dropdown will behave correctly in such a case. So first we need to check whether the dropdown would actually overflow. So let's calculate that. Let's call it a final variable would overflow, and in which cases it might overflow. We need to get calculated Y offset and add the calculated expanded height to it and check whether that altogether, so calculated Y offset will be this point right here in the top left of the dropdown, and the whole height of the whole dropdown that's currently going out of the screen. We need to check whether that zoomed up is bigger than constraints max height minus the bottom constraint, which is the bottom safe area. And now we need to set a max expanded height. So let's create a new final variable. I mean, we already have expanded height, but we could reassign it, but let's stick to a new variable and call it max expanded height. and we need to check whether it would overflow, and if yes, then do some calculations, and if not, then simply use expanded height as our maximum height. Let's replace the expanded height with the max expanded height. Okay, and now let's do the actual calculations of the maximum expanded height. Let's put brackets. Let's put brackets just to make it more distinguishable. So we need to take constraints max height, and we will be subtracting from it. We need to subtract the origin offset, that's pretty obvious. The vertical padding, which is that tiny space between the model and the button, and also collapsed height and a bottom constraint. Okay, something's not working correctly at the moment. Let's fix the formatting because it's annoying. What's wrong? I think I know. We are passing height of the whole screen here to build content, and that one also needs a expanded height. The max expanded height. So let's pass it here, and now, as you can see, maximum height is set correctly, and this one is scrolled, so you can see that when I scroll down, the height also increases, but it never passes our limits. It's never shown in the safe area padding, so works just as we would expect it to work. So that's another edge case handled properly. Okay, let's move to the next one. So what I can also think about is that dropdown, the dropdown that is on the right half of the screen. So now, as you can see, the width of the dropdown is a bit bigger than the button in that case. So here, but we always align the left of the dropdown to the left of the button. So here in that case, it's not really the best thing to do, because a lot of content is cut down, and we can even make that example worse by setting flags to those items. So let's make it so that it takes only 1/3 of the screen. And as you can see, now it's even worse. So that's not an ideal solution. Quick fix to it would be to align it to the right. The right side of the dropdown to the right side of the button, and then the left side will obviously get misaligned, but it might look a bit better. That's not an ideal solution, and I will talk on that in a minute, but it's a pretty quick one and obvious one, so let's stick to it for now. That's something that you can improve later on as, I don't know, as a challenge, for example, or maybe that's a good idea for another episode of our custom dropdown. Anyway, we need to check whether the dropdown is on right half of the screen, and that's pretty easy thing to check. We need to take the X origin offset and check whether it's after half of available space. Okay, and now we need to use that to show it on the, to align it to the right half. So we will use that in our position child method, I guess. Yeah. So let's add another param just before the child. My formatting sucks, as you can see. Line should be narrower, but whatever. And when it's on the right half, we don't want it to align to the left, but to the right. So what we need to do is to set right instead of left, and that will be our vertical padding, so the space from the edge of the screen that we are always saving, so it looks better. Oh, I've got a double end here. Shouldn't be like that, but let's leave it for now. And yeah, it misses the param, of course. It's missing the is on right half boolean. Let's add it. Okay. Not really working as expected, not really. And that's because we are still setting the max width to the one that's here. And we actually need to vary it based on the right half as well. So when it's on the right half, then the calculations will look a bit different. So when it's on right half, that should be max width on constraints, simply minus 2 times modal horizontal padding, I believe. Yeah, but still the space is a bit bigger. It's not really aligned with the button. I guess that should be multiplied by 2. I used the vertical padding instead of horizontal. Yeah. Oh, now it's fine. Okay, so that's a quick fix, but once again, it's not an ideal one. And why? Because it might be that our button is on the right half of the screen, but all of the items that are here are really short, and then we won't always need to align it to the right side of the button, and we could stick to the left side alignment. So let's quickly visualize it. But yeah, we won't handle it right now, as I don't really have a idea how to do it quickly. Yeah, we need to do a full hot restart. As you can see, the model itself is so small that it could be aligned to the left. That close header could get some padding as well. Tiny bit better, but still, you get what I'm saying. It could be aligned to the left side of the button instead of the right. We can change the flex to show it even better. could still be aligned to the left side, but that would require some more calculations. Okay, and the last edge case I would like to handle in this part would be showing the drop down at the top instead of at the bottom when we are on the lower half of the screen and the drop down doesn't really fit and it needs to be a scrollable. So that's the perfect example. It barely fits here. It would be simply better to show it above the bottom. That will be our final version for this part of the video. So yeah, let's go with that one. We are baking our custom dialog code. And let's see whether we should show it at the top. So it's called our final variable show at top, and that will depend on the fact whether the expanded head is bigger than what we've got available. So that's constraint max height minus the origin y offset minus I think like I've already got it up somewhere. It's like it's here in the max expanded height, so we could probably extract it to some kind of a variable, but yeah, let's leave refactoring for later on. So the height needs to be bigger than, actually no, let's extract it, it hurts my eyes. It needs to be vertical. Once again, I used the wrong one. Okay, so the whole height needs to be bigger than available vertical space, but also it needs to be on the second half of the screen, because in that case, if we would have a really long list, it will also be shown at the top, where actually we've got less space at the top than at the bottom. So let's check if the y origin offset is bigger than constraints max height divided by 2. Okay. If those conditions are met, then we want to show it at the top. We also okay, so now we know when we want to show it at the top, and let's use it. So for sure we need to use it in our calculated y offset. So if we want to show it down, then the offset will be the highest place on the screen that's not in the safe area. So that's y origin offset. Actually, no. It won't be the highest available place, because then in that case, when the dropdown is pretty short, it would get shown right here. But we we want it to be right above the button and label. So that needs to be Y origin offset, which is this left top corner of our button, minus whole height of our drop down, minus vertical padding. Nothing changed. Short tops, folds. Maybe let's add more items once again to our drop down. As you can see, it's shown at the top correctly. But there is one more edge case to handle when we show it at the top, and we already are preventing from the overflow at the bottom, but we are not doing so from the overflow at the top. So let's add some more elements, and as you can see, when the drop down is at the first half, the top half of the screen, yeah, it doesn't overflow, we've got that scroll view, all good. But when it's on the bottom, oh, we are overflowing out of our safe area. So we also need to limit the max height of the drop down when we show it at the top a bit differently. Okay. So here we are calculating our expanded height, and we are checking whether it would overflow. So we need to handle that case in which it would overflow. So we need to check whether it's shown at the top, and if yes, then we want our max expanded height to equal y origin offset minus top constraint minus modal vertical padding. Yep, so sounds about right. That's y origin offset is that top left corner of the bottom, minus top constraint is the upper in the safe area, and vertical padding is that little space we've got right here. Let's save it and check right now. Yeah, that one is on the top half, so it's all good. And that one, oh, something is still wrong. That's that's the thing that's still wrong is the y origin offset. I mean, it's calculated y offset, and we use it to set the top of our position. So our calculated y offset needs to be a var. We could, we need to revisit it once again here. So if would overflow and show top, then our calculated y offset needs actually to be a top constraint. And now it should work fine, but it doesn't. What the hell? Okay, after a few minutes of debugging, I already know what is wrong. So we also need to change the way would overflow is checked. So right now we only checked for the overflow at the bottom. So let's add or and check whether calculated y offset is smaller than top constraint. And now it works fine. So yeah. Okay, so that's it. And now it works fine. Okay, so here it is. That's our custom model that uses show dialog and will always show in the correct place thanks to some calculations and positioned widget inside of a stack. Let's quickly go through all of the edge cases once again. So here it doesn't overflow at the bottom. Here it's shown to the right. Here when it's on the lower half of the screen and doesn't really fit here, we show it at the top of the bottom because there's more space available. It still doesn't fit, but yeah, more items are shown initially, so that's a better solution. Okay, you can style that dropdown however you want and have custom themed reusable component. If I were to improve it further, I would add is loading and a shimmer effect, disabled styling, ability to manage whether the drop down width should be the same as the button width. I would also handle that edge case on the right side a bit better, and it's up to you. You can build upon that base and create a epic component that you will use in all of your projects. So as you can see, sometimes it's better to do something on your own rather than use existing library, especially as you're basically building a library of your own components that you can reuse in multiple projects. Okay, do you know a better or easier way to do it? Could you make the code cleaner or more readable? Let me know in the comments. You can see a link to the GitHub repository in the description. And yeah, that's it. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. Okay, thanks and see you in the next one.